Hey everyone, my name is Chelsea. Welcome to Little Mountain Ranch. I'm really happy to have you here with us today. It is bright and early in the morning. The sun hasn't yet come up over the mountains, and I am heading down to do my milking. Somebody asked the other day if I could share with you our morning chore kind of routine. And so I thought I would do that this morning. And then of course we'll be going into the kitchen to make some food, because that is something that I do multiple times every day. And we are also going to be working on getting our ski hill, or our sledding slash ski slash snowboard, whatever anyone wants to do, hill all lit up. It's really magical at nighttime when the lights are all strung up on the hill and the kids can sled out here, especially on a day like today when it is warm. Right now it is actually above freezing, and we have a snowfall warning, which is going to make the roads absolutely horrible. It's much better if it snows, if it's around -10 degrees or so, because it doesn't make the roads slushy, and then it always freezes at night in the wintertime here. So if it's slushy during the day, then it makes the roads super icy at night. So it's much better for it to be a bit colder, so it doesn't have that chance to thaw and freeze and thaw and freeze. But it does certainly make for nice chore weather, that's for sure. Maple's super good with the cats, but the cats are a little bit apprehensive around her, except for Skittles, right? Skittles loves you. Hi, buddy. How's it going? Good morning. Good morning. See, she's not gonna hurt ya. No way. No way, right, Maple? You like cats. The way that chores work around here is each one of us has an outdoor morning chore, and in total from start to finish it takes around 20 minutes for us all to get all of our chores done. So we have one person that's going to go down and fill the water trough for the cows, one person that's going to fill the water trough for the pigs, somebody that's going to feed the pigs, feed the chickens, and so on. So it actually, even though we do have a lot of animals, clean hands make light work. Good morning, guys. Just about breakfast. Elvis is loving his little warm house. So I'm just going to grab his dish so I can give him his morning milk. So this guy's name is actually Albus, like Albus Dumbledore, but every time I say Elvis, people always think I am saying Elvis. So either Elvis or Albus, whatever you'd like to call him. You remember that little bunny that we got a few weeks ago? I guess that was almost a month ago now. So this is Flopsy, and she is getting huge. Aren't you, lady? She's so sweet. These rabbit tractors that we have are outside during the warmer months so that they can eat grass, and then in the wintertime they come into the barn so that they can be a little bit warmer. Hi, bud. You want some snuggles, don't you? She's waiting for the kids to come to give her her morning snuggles. When it comes to rabbits, they actually do better in the cold than they do in the heat. They're much more likely to die on a really hot day than they would be on a really cold day. But like with any animal, keeping them protected from wind and drafts in the wintertime is really important, and that's why we move them into the barn. The biggest issue with keeping animals in the wintertime in our climate is freezing water and drafts. Good morning, beautiful girl. Elvis is just hanging out waiting for his food, aren't you, buddy? He's waiting for your milk. This hay is going to go for bedding for the pigs. About every week or so we put more hay in, because pigs actually will eat quite a bit of hay, so that just keeps it replenished. That's not for you, lady. Guys, having some breakfast. Hey mama, how are ya? You're such a good girl too, aren't ya? Hey buddy. In the summer I really try to make sure that I get the milk up into the fridge as quickly as possible because it's warm, and warm equals bacterial growth. But in the wintertime when it's nice and cold, it's not as urgent. So usually I can sit the milk down in some snow, run around and do some other things, check on everybody's chores without having to go up to the house and then back down to the barnyard again. This is what she's been waiting for her snuggles. Sweet girl. Okay, last up, we'll go and check on the chickens. So now we have pigs fed and watered, goats and milk cow fed and watered, pigs with new bedding, outdoor cow trough filled. This time of year, farm chores are pretty easy because we don't have any chicken tractors to move or turkeys to look after. We usually don't have any baby animals to look after. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, ladies. How are you doing this morning? Nice and toasty in here. We don't use heat lights in our chicken coop. I've talked about this lots of times before. It's way too much of a fire hazard, and chickens do just fine without supplementary heat as long as they have good ventilation so that they don't get a buildup of humidity and are protected from drafts. I'm just up here checking on my hives to see how my bees are doing, and we are going to be moving our hives down to my little greenhouse for the winter. Our really cold weather usually comes in January and February, so we want to get them in there and all wrapped and everything. This top box here I insulate. You can see there's 3 boxes, so I have 2 boxes with bees and then this one box for insulation, but we're going to wrap them as well before it gets really cold. I'm going to see if you can hear this. Can you hear that sound? Happy to hear nice buzzing bees in there. That makes me so happy. I've had a really difficult time keeping my bees alive through the winter, and I am trying to do everything I can this year to help them. Yay! Did you hear that? Okay, so that's 2. Number 3's alive. Oh, I hope you guys can hear that. It's the coolest sound. That really does make me so happy. So we're going to be moving them down here to the greenhouse. My friend Tim, who is my mentor when it comes to lots of things on here on the farm, said that if I can get a shade cloth or something to kind of blacken out the greenhouse so that it stays dark in there, that they'll have a better chance. So I'm going to use my shade cloth from my high tunnel, fold it in half and put it over top of it and see if that will darken it out enough. So I'm really hoping that moving them down to the greenhouse is going to help when it gets really cold. Okay, back inside to strain the milk. Today is actually the first day in the last week that everyone's been well enough to be able to do chores. This morning, which is awesome, with still lingering cough, one of the things that I'm going to do today is to make some really easy honey cough drops. Okay, this one is my mom's pancake recipe. I don't know if I've shared this on here before. I'm cooking so much on my channel now, and there are many recipes that I redo all the time. All right, into our mixer. We're going to use whole wheat flour today. My order is supposed to be in by Friday of all my bulk flour. Excited to share that with you because the people that I bought it from have been fantastic to deal with, and it is organic BC flour. Super excited about it. Okay, 6 cups of flour. This recipe calls for sugar, but I'm going to be using honey instead of sugar today, just because I have kids recovering from illness and we don't want the extra sugar in there. I mean, honey is sugar, but it is a more natural and refined version, of course. These are the cough drops that we're going to be making here shortly once I get these pancakes in the oven to bake. I'm making sheet pancakes today, which get baked in the oven. Nice, efficient way to make large batches of pancakes. Okay, 12 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of salt. And we're just going to mix all this up together. And as you know, I pretty much never mix my wet and dry ingredients separately, which you really should do. I just never do it. I actually haven't found that it makes a huge difference. It does with some recipes, certain cookie recipes where you need to whip up some of the ingredients like butters and sugars together, but not so much for things like pancakes. So we're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cups of milk. You could use almond milk or oat milk if you like. 6 teaspoons of vanilla.
Where
did you find that egg?
Feeder.
So we have one. I just asked Jack to go out and see if he could find some eggs, and he found this one teeny tiny little egg. So I do have some young hens out there, and they'll often lay tiny eggs at the very beginning. It probably doesn't have a yolk in it, but we'll check. Really thick shell. I don't know if you can see that. It has the tiniest little yolk in there. That's adorable. Okay, 3 eggs, or 2 and a really tiny one in this case. A dash of nutmeg. Should have put this in my dry ingredients. When you're going to be substituting honey instead of sugar, you just want to play around with the amounts, because honey can be a lot sweeter tasting in a recipe than sugar, and just a different flavor because it actually has flavor, whereas I find sugar more adds a sweetening but not as much a flavor. Honey actually adds flavor, so you just kind of have to play around with that a little bit. First, we need 3/4 of a cup of olive oil. I am making pancakes. Yummy, hey? Nice breakfast after being sick. Okay, now we're gonna put this on our mixer, mix it up well. If your oven is working well, which mine is not, you can preheat to 350. I'm preheating to 400. My oven is just not heating the way it once was. These are going to poof up quite a bit, so make sure you don't layer these on too thick or they have a bit of a harder time cooking all the way into the middle without the outsides getting dry. Little cinnamon sprinkled on top. Sure. Let's run downstairs for a sec before we do this. Dan just has a few questions about the build down in the freeze dryer room. In the last video, I showed you that we had insulated this wall with the wood stove on the other side of it so that we could keep this room cool, but we weren't going to insulate this wall because we wanted, because it's cool on the other side of this. The other side of this is our pantry, and we didn't think it was going to be a big deal, but somebody mentioned that the freeze dryers actually give off a lot of heat and are also quite noisy. So we have decided that we're going to insulate this wall as well. And we're also going to insulate the ceiling so that the sound is, so that there's a buffer between this, where the freeze dryer is going to be, and the rest of the house. We're still not going to insulate this wall, however, because this helps to keep this space really cool. And like I mentioned last time, we are putting a vent in the ceiling to outside to be able to keep this nice and cold in here. It also has a concrete floor in here as well, and our basement does stay quite cool, at least the insulated rooms do, that are insulated from the wood stove. Okay.
I just kind of need the because we changed our plans. So now I'm thinking we'll build shelves down below.
Yes, definitely.
Boxes and stuff on. And then 2 shelves up here still.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do it the same height as the one upstairs, like the island you work on.
Okay, yeah, that's a nice height for me.
Which is like about there.
Yep.
And then 30 inches out to here. So I just want to make sure.
So you want to put these shelves out to the same height, but you're going to make it so that when I'm like leaning here, I'm not banging my head on these shelves, or do you want to just do them in?
Well, I'm not sure. That's why I was asking, because we have to put something in here to screw them to.
I'm a very visual person, and I usually need to kind of act out the space. I know it sounds really weird, but to pretend that the shelf is here, I can imagine it and pretend I'm taking things out of the freeze dryer. This is so silly. You guys are seeing our process here. And then imagine what it would be like to take it out, put it in here, and where I would want shelves above.
Right.
I like those ones. Yeah, the depths of those are really nice. So he's just saying that the shelves in the pantry are 24 inches, and we really like the depth of that. That can fit 6 quarts perfectly.
So then I just have to put some more bracing in here.
What we would like to do is to be able to store the food from the freeze dryer here rather than having to move it into the pantry. Plus I don't have a lot of room in the pantry this time of year anyway. So if we did 2, that's really not going to work though, to do 2.
Why?
If they're, how many inches apart did you say they were?
Do you want it the same as?
Yeah, I like that. Well, actually they could go closer together because, no, actually they can't. They need to be able to fit. Yeah, they have to be able to tip to pull out, but they also need to fit gallon jars, because I'll be doing gallon jars. See, as you can see, we could have put our shelves closer together, but it makes it more difficult to get things out, and also you need to be able to tip your jars and pull them out. So this spacing that we have here, how many inches is this? Let's try. I'm sorry, my jars aren't faced very well right now.
We've been going through food like crazy.
I know we have been. Okay. Nope. Yeah, so that doesn't work. Okay. That works.
So that's kind of the minimum.
This could go, we have more space though. You could bring it down to there.
You want it comfortable though.
Yeah, that's true.
But we don't have to make them this wide either. We could just do.
Okay, so it's okay. What if we do 1 shelf all the way out, like that one that fits the 6 quarts?
On top.
On the top,
okay.
The very top one. And then we can put 2 shelves down lower, or even 1 shelf down lower, but we'll just make it more narrow so that I still have like the working space. So I'm not going to be banging my head, but we have the extra space to put jars. And they will be able to go, if we make this one the same height as the freeze dryer, then we could put 2 all the way across. I need to draw it out. What we just decided to do is to get the countertop in, the shelves underneath in, the top shelf in, and the freeze dryer and all of that in here, and then we'll be able to see a little bit better where we want to put the other shelves, or whether it's even necessary. Right? Okay, my pancakes are done. Gotta run. Alrighty, we have our pancakes. So I have 3 trays. Let's put this one over here. Of sheet pancakes, looking delicious. Because sheet pancakes tend to be quite a bit thicker, as you can see, than a regular pancake, they are super filling. Like, look at that. Delish. So now we're going to make some honey cough drops. These could not be easier. 1 cup of honey, and I am using some store-bought honey here because I'm going to be heating this, boiling it to make a candy out of it. So I'm not as concerned about having raw honey, because I'm going to be, changing all the structure of this by heating it up anyway. All we're going to do with this is bring it over to the stove, and we're going to turn this up to high, grab our candy thermometer and our mixer. Where did that go? I highly recommend a candy thermometer. I actually bought my first candy thermometer about 6 months ago. Prior to that, I would just eyeball things. I must have something burning on the bottom of my pan here. Oh, I do. You can add cinnamon to this, ginger. I am just going to add lemon. We've tried both cinnamon and ginger and didn't like it as far as the throat lozenges go, and it didn't seem to make a huge difference in how effective they were. Just honey and lemon works perfectly fine. And I add my lemon once this is cooled down a little bit, excuse me, after it's come to the hard crack stage. Just because otherwise if I add it now, it's just all going to evaporate away. I use lemon oil, but you could use lemon juice. About 3 tablespoons or so for this much honey. Did I say that this was 1 cup of honey? I think I did. I've been making these for years, so I can usually tell by the smell of it when it gets to the right temperature, which it is just about. So close. Okay, there we go. This is the only silicone mat I have and the only thing I use it for, but it works really well for this. So I'm just gonna let these cool down. Okay, now that it's cooled down, I'm going to add my lemon oil. I added 3 drops last time and we all decided that it wasn't quite lemony enough. So I'm gonna add, I don't know, 4 more. To make these, it is as easy as just pouring the size that you want. I'm just going to put these outside on the freezer for a minute for them to set. And 5 minutes later, they are all set up. Whoops, some of them went together. I can break those ones apart. If you don't put some kind of powder on these, like powdered sugar or something like that, they will stick together. But I am actually just leaving these on the silicone mat and everyone can snack on them for the next couple of days. They'll get eaten up that quickly around here, especially with so many of us with sore throats and coughs. But if you do want to put them in a jar, you will have to powder them with something because they will stick together. Don't they look pretty? Pretty tasty too. Let's go see where Dan's at down in the basement.
Just adding an extra supports to screw the shelves onto.
Oh, okay, because they didn't line up with the 2x4s?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Gotcha. We're going to use the same tin that we used on the ceiling in the pantry, which I absolutely love, especially love the rust on it. This is actually some old roofing that we got from someone years and years and years ago, and it just sat in a pile outside, and now we finally have a use for it. I just, on this one, I cut it on the outside and then tried to run the insulation up in behind it. And so that's what was mucking it up. Your way is better.
Yeah.
More better. Okay, now that that wall is insulated, we're going to get it boarded today, which is very exciting. I am going to get my kitchen cleaned up now, and we'll be back with you guys again in a little bit. Yesterday afternoon, Dan ended up getting all of the boarding done on the pantry, and then the day just kind of got away with me and I didn't bring the camera back out. So we're now on to day 2, and we're heading down to the shop to get all of the things that we need for doing all the mudding. Mudding takes a few coats. Fortunately, it's quite warm down there right now, so maybe we'll be able to get a coat on, maybe 2 coats on today, you think? Hoping to be able to get to actually priming by Friday. That would be amazing. This stuff, normally we use drywall tape, but I did try this stuff last time and it was okay. So since we're doing just such a small room, we're gonna use this instead. Is there anything else? That's it?
I think so.
Okay. We're doing a drop ceiling in here, so we don't need to do along there, which is kind of nice. It's going to make this job go really fast. And Dan has an insane sinus infection, so he's going to help me with the mudding, and then I'll be doing the sanding because of all that dust. We don't want that getting up into his sinuses, along with all that other infection going on. I can't wait to get to the fun part when we get to paint it and put all the shelves in. I'm just trying to figure out what color I want to do in here. It's a pretty small space, so I want to keep it light. We just painted an antique white in the pantry, and that looks really pretty. The wood itself is kind of dark, so it's a nice contrast to keep it light, so I might just do it the same way. I'm not sure. Maybe yellow. We all know how I love painting yellow. I always paint yellow. I have since I was probably 20 years old. At least one room in my house is yellow. Okay, first coat of mud is done. Probably within 2 hours I'm going to be able to be down here sanding, and then we'll get the second coat on. We usually do 3 coats when we're mudding, and then we'll be able to actually get the primer on. It's so warm down here and it's drying really fast, so this is going to go way faster than I thought. That is it for today's video, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye!